RAW versus JPEG. Which one should you be using for your photography? That's what we're going to discuss in this episode of Artisan Advice. To get things started, let's actually look at what RAW and JPEG files actually are. When you're using a Sony Alpha camera, your RAW files give you compressed or an uncompressed file, depending on which one that you choose in the menu, but both contain a ton of data coming directly from your camera's sensor. RAW files typically need color correction and adjustments in post-production programs like Lightroom or Capture One to bring back things like contrast and color saturation. The good news is that because of the file format, RAW files can be pushed a lot farther in those programs without losing any discernible quality in the image. You get the best dynamic range that your camera can offer, but you have to process all of the goodness from those images by yourself. Those files are typically also the largest files that the camera will produce, which is something that you'll want to be aware of. For example, on a camera like the Alpha 7R4, an uncompressed RAW file is somewhere around 122 megabytes in size. In contrast, a JPEG file is a compressed, lossy image format that is much smaller in size. Coming from the same Alpha 7R4 camera, a JPEG image taken in the highest quality averages around 34 megabytes. Those JPEG files usually look great coming straight out of the camera since all that processing is already done for you. The images are also ready to upload to pretty much any website without having to run them through post-production. Something else that you may not know, but when you take a photo on pretty much any digital camera and you play it back, you're actually seeing a low resolution JPEG preview of that image, even if you shot that image in RAW. Anyway, the question of the day is, which one should you be using for your photography? And the answer is, it depends. RAW and JPEG both have their own benefits and disadvantages. For me, in my own work, I shoot every single time in RAW, knowing that I'll have to do some work later on in post. I personally prefer having the best quality images that the camera can produce. Now, in those situations where you maybe don't have the time to process a RAW file, then perhaps shooting in JPEG is the best way to go. Just keep in mind that those JPEG files don't have as much latitude to edit them in post, so you have to make sure that you nail the exposure, the white balance, and basically everything else in camera. Another option would be to shoot in RAW and JPEG at the same time. Doing this will give you the best of both worlds, but at the expense of taking up even more storage. This is the best option to consider if you're shooting an event and you need to deliver good-looking files right away. Which format do you typically use for your photography, RAW or JPEG? Sound off in the comment section below, and while you're there, make sure you subscribe to our channel as we release new content all the time. Now, if you want to learn about what's new in the Alpha universe, check out the video that you see here on the screen, and I'll see you there.